that mirrors the real government based on the notion and the theory that real and actual power not only reside with publicly elected officials, but also private individuals who actually can make their voices heard. Here in Nigeria, recently, a political scientist, an economist and political activist, Professor Patutomi, recently launched a shadow government known as the Big Tent Coalition Government. And the government has kicked against it. The federal government has kicked against it. According to Professor Patutomi, who launched the shadow government, the first of its kind in Nigeria, he believes that the current administration is failing, that their policies are failing, that the current administration is thriving on propaganda and repression of opposition views. That is why he has decided to launch this shadow government. The federal government has kicked against it. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has said that why should we be having a shadow government at this time? That Nigeria should be celebrating 26 years of democracy. And at this time, we have a bicameral legislature with opposition members, and we are not practicing a parliamentary system of government. Then why should we be talking about a shadow government? So a lot of, dissenting opinions and views here and there about the shadow government of a thing. But again, the main purpose of a shadow government is to mirror the real government, to critique the policies of the government of the day and offer alternative solutions. That is exactly what Professor Patutomi had in mind. And for a shadow government, he has appointed human rights lawyer Dele Farutimi as the ombudsman and leader of, is it governance? Something governance. I'm trying to place my finger on that right now. I'll recall that. But of course, he's the leader of the ombudsman and good governance portfolio. That's what he called him. And that's talking about the shadow government just launched on Monday by Professor Patutomi. Joining us on the conversation this morning is Prince Oyedokun Ademola. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, Western Spring Television.
Okay, thank you so much.
It is a pleasure to be on this program. And what a very fantastic topic we have.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you once again for joining us.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. So we are looking at the recent developments in Nigeria, massive defections from political parties to the ruling party. So basically, a lot of Nigerians believe that opposition is dying in Nigeria. And concerned Nigerians, for instance, Professor Patutomi believes that unless a strong opposition voice arises, that our democracy is in danger. That is why he's forming a shadow government to mirror the government, to critique their policies and offer, alternative solutions. And we've had this in other places. For instance, in Iceland, okay, after their financial institutions failed, when they had their socio-economic crisis, the period known as Krepa. So post-Krepa, they had shadow government. They actually had three distinct institutions, okay? Three distinct institutions that practice shadow government, but doing basically the same thing, talking about the shadow city, the shadow parliament, and of course, the better Reykjavik shadow government as well. In your opinion, what do you think the situation will be like in Nigeria? Talking about this proposition of a shadow government by Professor Patutomi.
Having a shadow government in Nigeria is a welcome development to me. I cannot agree less with Professor Patutomi that opposition is dying out in Nigeria. And we cannot afford to have a one-party state. Because they say absolute power corrupts absolutely. So when a government is in power or a party is in power and the opposition is weak, such a government will be drifting towards anarchy, autocracy. The government will think all of its policies and decisions are right. So in a democracy, an opposition has a very great role to play. And for that reason, this idea of having a parallel government is a welcome development to me. The position of the government that they kick against this idea because we don't run a parliamentary system of government is a misdirected position. It's a misdirected position. The government cannot teach the opposition on how to conduct their affairs. What are the strong opposition parties we have in this country? The People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party, and weekly ABGA. These parties, they have no voices. They are very weak. And day in, day out, you see their members defecting to the ruling or progressive Congress, APC. That means if you have a one-party state, the future of democracy in Nigeria is not guaranteed. That means a party will be in power without check, and when its policies are biting, the party will continue to be arrogant, to be thinking that the policies are serving the people. But another question for this idea by Professor Pat Utomi is that he claims to constitute this parallel government by contacting all opposition parties or major opposition parties. Are they ready to serve in the interest of the people by being objective in their criticisms? When government does a positive policy that is good for the country and the people, either immediately or in the nearest future, would they be bold to say so? I have seen the list of people that they start this with, and then they have made my learned senior colleague, Mr. Dele Faroti, as the head of ombudsman. Nigerians have impressions of the characters of these people that are constituting the parallel government. I've seen the name of Aisha Yusuf and so many others whose background some of us may not know, but we will begin to scrutinize. How objective are they going to be? Are they going to form the parallel government against the executives alone? Who are they going to make their own Minister of Finance? Who are they going to make their own Minister of Commerce and Industry? Who are they going to make their own Minister of Foreign Affairs? Are they going to be going to foreign countries to malign Nigeria, all in the name of opposition? Will they see anything good in government if the government does good? Or it is their purpose to just continue to condemn every step taken by government? Because there is no absolutely bad government, and there is no government without blemish. How far can they go in helping Nigeria is what we need to concentrate now. But I don't think the government has any right to dictate to opposition how they operate.
All right.
Thank you very much, sir.
It's a good thing you're a lawyer, so I'm going to ask you, can this Pat Utomi's shadow governance structure constitute a legitimate critique, a legitimate institutional critique of the dysfunction of the executive? Or does it risk, does it risk an elite, unauthorized or unaccountable elite consensus at the end of the day, outside of the democratic process?
As I said before, there is nothing illegal in it. In this country, our constitution guarantees freedom of association. We have freedom of expression of our opinions. We have freedom of belief. These are fundamental human rights. So as a citizen, we have franchise, right to vote and to be voted for, right to campaign at an election, right to present oneself for election, right to freedom of expression to express your opinion as to your views on the policies of government, whether you like it or not. What is illegal is if the parallel government is planning to take over governance of Nigeria or any part thereof through an unconstitutional means. Take for example now, if the parallel government is now procuring arms or they are sponsoring coup d'etat, then we will say they are making an attempt to take over government through an unconstitutional means. But if a political party or an association of political parties who actually have rights under freedom of association to relate with one another decides to form a parallel government for the purpose of critiquing the policies and actions of the government of the day, it is legal. They have freedom of expression of their opinions, as long as they are not planning to take over government unconstitutionally. I don't see anything illegal in it.
All right, Prince Oyedokun, you're a legal practitioner and you are saying it is legal. But this is not the first time we're saying cryptocracy or shadow government as it is. In the introduction, I gave an example of Iceland, where they actually, have a shadow government, shadow city, shadow parliament, and better Reykjavik. And in fact, some of their policies have gotten buy-ins from the government. That is the essence of a shadow government. Okay, they have all their members.
That's how it should be.
Absolutely. So they
at the end of the day, we are all Nigerians.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even Professor Patu Tomi has said it, that don't be afraid, don't be scared that they're going to steal your policies, steal our policies in the Big Tent coalition government and implement it. He said it is for the good of Nigeria. So my question to you is this.
There is a very big question here, sir.
Why then is the federal government scared of a shadow government? Why are they scared of a shadow government at this time? Why is the federal government of Nigeria scared?
And the big question is that if it is a coalition of different political parties on whose manifesto, because every political party has its own philosophy and manifesto, what they intend to achieve if they are voted into power. Is this parallel government going to be operating on the manifesto of the PDP, of the Labour Party, of the APP, AMPP, Alliance for Democracy, or which other party? Do they have any document with which they want to work to criticize the government? We have seen the policy of this government on subsidy, on forex, on education, and many other sectors of our life. This impromptu parallel government now, we should be critical of how they want to deliver their intention. Because if a government of APC is operating under the manifesto of APC, and let's now say the parallel government wants to criticize the policy of APC on security, are they going to be projecting or offering alternatives on the platform of the Labour Party, to which I suspect party Tomi belongs to, or PDP, or ABGA, or any other party? I think it is when they present such a document that we personally begin to take them serious. Then we'll be able to juxtapose their own policies, their own ideas, side by side with what APC is offering. In the absence of that, they appear to be a mob. A mob.
Sorry to cut in.
Coming together impromptu.
Sorry to cut in, Prince Oyedokun. He has said, Professor Patu Tomi, the convener, has said that it will be a coalition of parties, opposition parties. So it's not going to be whether Labour Party, like you mentioned, or PDP. No. He's saying it's going to be a coalition of parties, of concerned Nigerian citizens,
with which all of them will operate.
So are you saying, back to my question, are you saying that the federal government of Nigeria has the right, to be concerned Because I asked, why are they scared? Why is the federal government scared? If this is a good initiative, like you said, then why should the federal government of Nigeria be scared of a shadow government at this time?
Whether the federal government of Nigeria as presently constituted has information that you and I don't have, I can't say. But legally speaking, morally speaking, patriotically speaking, I see no reason why the government should be scared of an opposition offering alternative policies to the policy of government.
All right, Prince Oyedokun, I wanted to ask you, you have critiqued the composition of the shadow government. What alternative would you propose to the composition of that government? I mean, these are people in politics right now. These are people who also would have policies of their own that they will want to push forward if they were in that position. So what alternative would you propose for that?
I'm not saying what they are doing is wrong, but what I'm suspect of is their modus operandi. They have not come out with a document of coalition that these are the political parties that have come together. Let us know how many political parties are participating in this. 1. 2, let us have your operative guideline. How did you come about making Aisha Yusuf from Labour Party? The other members, which other parties are they coming from? Which role are you giving them? Who is going to be in charge of our finance, the parallel government? Who is going to be in charge of our agriculture? Who is going to be in charge of our foreign affairs? Who is going to be in charge of our education? And everybody now has APC's manifesto. So what is the manifesto of this coalition? So that when Minister of Internal Affairs does something, and you want to say it is not right, then your own internal affairs in your parallel government, what alternative, what would you have done in that position? Different from APC. So they have not presented anything to us. And that gets me probing. Are they serious?
All right, Prince Oyedokun. I would like us to look at this, I mean, from another perspective. As a journalist, I like to give, balanced, opinion on issues like this. So before we tilt towards a particular side, let's look at the bigger picture, Prince Oyedokun. For instance, just this morning, I was going through a CIA document that was released, approved for release on the 1st of November 2005, a document from the CIA United States, which showed some operations.
2005 or 2025?
Pardon? I said 2005. The 1st of November 2005. So, of course, it's a classified document, but that one was approved to be released. So a lot of things in that document showed the operations of the United States in 1953, 1954, where they were preoccupied with toppling governments in Iran, governments in Ecuador, in Guatemala, and all that, where they actually, committed millions of dollars, to topple governments. And sometimes they start from, they use shadow governments and all that. My question to you is this, Prince Oyedokun. Are you concerned that the shadow government might be hijacked or could be funded by external forces?
When you asked me, why is the government not comfortable with parallel government? I said something. And what I said was, maybe the federal government may have some information that you and I and other ordinary Nigerians on the state may not have. There may be such information, security intelligence information, that the people in government of APC, the present government of today in Nigeria may have, that you and I may not have. Such classified or such declassified information from CIA may, I'm just saying, I'm not sure, be the reason why the federal government is not comfortable with the existence of those legal parallel government from the opposition. And from what played out in 2015, during the twilight of President Jonathan's administration. He said it, we never believed it, that there was a foreign intervention in the local politics of Nigeria. And it is now open to everybody that really there was an unlawful, contemptuous foreign intervention on the sovereignty of Nigeria through foreign, particularly U.S. intervention. So we can never blame the federal government if they are not comfortable with the parallel government, provided that they have classified information that you and I may not have. We cannot rule it out, sir. The insecurity and insurgencies we currently experience in Nigeria, definitely without foreign sponsors, there's no way this insecurity and insurgency could have lingered this long, for this long. So we never can tell.
All right. Does the existence of this shadow government risk complicating Nigeria's image, internationally, especially at a time when Nigeria is riddled with so much insecurity and other infractions?
I think the existence of parallel government in Nigeria should be a thing of pride, because of it's a signal that our democracy is actually growing. It is nothing to be embarrassed with. It should not be an embarrassment to Nigeria. Rather, it should be a credit that Nigeria is truly a democratic environment.
All right, Prince Oyedokun. Now, like you said, shadow government should be a good thing, because from what Pat Utomi said, and ideally what a shadow government stands for is to offer alternatives, okay, to give solutions, to proffer solutions to problems, and that's what he said. That's what Pat Utomi said. But again, but again, yeah, here's my question to you. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, is claiming that, oh, Nigeria is practicing a bicameral system of legislation, that we are not practicing a parliamentary system, that it is nowhere in our statutes, in our books, that we should have a shadow government. My question to you as a legal practitioner is this: must we be practicing a parliamentary system before we can have a shadow government in Nigeria?
That is my opening remark. When I said, if you said our constitution does not provide for parallel government or shadow government, our constitution does not prohibit it either. As long as they are not planning to illegally take over government, if what they are doing is to associate with one another, if what they are doing is to express their views as to the policy of government, whether they are comfortable with it or not, so they have freedom to associate under our constitution, and they have freedom to express their opinion as to whether they are satisfied with what the government is doing or not. It is not an offense. As long as they are not crossing the line by sponsoring coup, by becoming violent, or by employing foreign aid to destabilize the government of Nigeria, what they are doing is patriotic, as long as they have to within the ambit of the law. There is no law that says individuals or corporate individuals or political parties or other associations cannot form a coalition. There is no law against coalition in Nigeria.
All right.
And there is no law that says a person cannot give alternative opinion to what our ministers or our National Assembly are doing. In fact, you can express opinion on judicial decisions. In essence, I'm saying people can criticize the executive, legislative, or judicial decisions in governance. Right to criticize government is a human right. It's a freedom of expression.
All right, Prince Oedokun. So what are the possible legal or institutional barriers that they may have? We're talking about establishing a shadow government in Nigeria. So far, they have launched online. But as a legal practitioner, what do you see as a possible, legal or institutional barriers that may face this shadow government in Nigeria?
Legally speaking, I said they are exercising their right to associate. They are exercising their right to express opinion. The only legal barrier they have is whatever they offer remain advisory. It's not binding on government to accept it. It's not binding on any Nigerians to follow their order if they are not their member or if you disagree with them. So they lack enforcement power. So if federal government makes a policy now on Nigerian notes, that is currency, and the opposition, either as individual political party, APC, PDP, or as a coalition as they intend to form, or as they are forming, whatever they express remain their opinion. It's not binding on government and cannot enforce it. So they are still bound by the policies of government. So they are only expressing their opinion, they are offering alternatives so as to gain followership and possibly legally take over power in the next election. So their institutional barrier lies in their inability to enforce their policies or to compel government to follow their alternative.
All right. In this particular talk or speech that Pat Utomi gave here, it tasked the cabinet with upholding ethical standards and integrity, and which he alleged are absent in the current administration. Do you think that's a fair, do you think that's a fair comparison or a fair thing to say, considering the fact that the shadow government is what it is, a shadow of the actual government? They're not faced with actual or real-time threats. They're not faced with, finances of the people. Do you think that that's fair? And can they really be in touch with the government, the actual government's or administration's reality?
Honestly speaking, you will have seen from my opinion that I have no problem with them exercising their right. It is a different thing if I believe in what they are doing. Right? A different thing if I believe in what they are doing. If anyone seeks my opinion whether I believe in their likely effectiveness, my answer will be in the negative. Take for example, the Adele Fatu wrote to me that has been put in charge of ombudsman. If you have been opportune to read his book and the issues he had with Chief Afe Babalola, and if you are in any way privy to the facts surrounding those controversies, I'm sorry, this is my personal opinion. In fact, that alone makes me make me disbelieve their capacity to function well as intended by Professor Pat Utomi. I'm just giving you an example. Look at Madam Aisha Yusuf, for example. So when they say something is a shadow of another, then it will be a reflection of the reality, not the opposition to it. My shadow is my reflection. It's not something different from me. But if you call yourself opposition and you say you are a shadow of the real government, are you different? That is the issue.
Professor Oedokun, Barrister Oedokun, okay, I just gave you an additional title right there. Okay, Prince Oedokun, I wanted to say Prince Oedokun, I exchanged professor for Prince right there. Prince Oedokun, a shadow government, their main function, okay, is to oppose the government, to provide solutions. So, of course, if everything was working fine, there wouldn't be a need for a shadow government. That is, I'm talking about the political science definition of shadow government right now. So basically, they are there to provide solutions, to critique and provide solutions to the existing government. That brings me to my question, Prince Oedekun. You talked about credibility. So let's assume now, okay, hypothetically speaking, that all of them are credible. All the players, all the figures, all the individuals constituting this shadow government, let's assume they are all credible. My question is this: in what ways could a shadow government, a credible shadow government, benefit Nigeria's democracy?
Well, a credible shadow government will put the government of the day on its toes. They will think twice before they take decisions. I mean the government of the day. Because what parallel government, because I hate to call them shadow, what parallel government ought to do is to be in competition of popularity of opinion and policies with the government of the day. They are to be in competition of popularity in preparation for next election. And the benefit to the people is to see the alternatives that exist to what federal government is doing. Tinubu came to power and declared subsidy is gone. Why? They said Nigeria cannot sustain it. It is draining our covers. Then unified currency. Now, the economy is biting hard on Nigerians because of these policies. What should we have done if we didn't do that? Yes, we have seen the advantages of it. Federal government now is now liquid. They have enough money. They pump money to states. All states are carrying projects, no longer having salary, no longer borrowing money. They are paying off all the backlog of debt. But Nigerians are hungry. Nigerians are dying in hospital. You, a parallel government, what would you have done to alleviate this gnashing effect on Nigerians? Nobody exists today who have offered us an alternative to it. What all of us has just been, we are condemning the government for the decision it has taken. And I know as a Nigerian that Nigeria will have been bankrupt by now if those decisions are not taken. But what would we have done different to salvage Nigeria and to ensure that Nigerians are not going through this current hardship? Nobody has offered us an alternative.
Prince Oedekun, don't you think that is why we are having these shadow governments now? Because according to Professor Patti told me...
You asked me in what way it will benefit Nigerians.
Yes.
And I said the way it will benefit Nigerians is for them to offer us alternatives. Okay. And then to now be in competition with the government of the day in terms of popularity. If the alternative you are offering us is more popular, people will follow you during the next election.
Absolutely.
So it's advantageous for our democracy, and it will put government on its toes. Either to quickly adopt the opposition's alternative to augment what the government is doing, or to abandon totally what the government is doing and choose the alternative. So it is beneficial for the people.
All right. All right, absolutely. You also raised concerns, Prince Oedekun, concerning their manifesto, but don't you think that the major manifesto, like Professor Batutomi said, is that they are going to offer superior policies? According to him, he says this current administration is just running on propaganda and repression of opposition. So he said what they are going to be doing basically is to x-ray the policies of this administration and offer better policies. Don't you think that is enough as manifesto for them?
That's manifesto then. It's abstract. It's not compact. It's not in place. You cannot lay your hand on it now. he is telling us that they don't have a document in place. So what they just intend to do is to periodically or from time to time attack every policy of government. Not that they already have a policy ready somewhere to bring to the table. So they just want to be a critique. They just want to be a critique. So they don't have an alternative. So what they want to be doing now is that, okay, this government has said they are establishing student loan. You shouldn't have done that. They'll begin to criticize it. They don't have a parallel.
No, they will critique, Prince Oyedepo, they will critique and offer alternative.
You can see that I have problem with their lack of a document to operate with.
No, I said they will offer, they said they will offer solutions, they will offer alternatives. They will offer alternatives.
Which is not ready now. They're waiting for government to act before they bring alternative.
All right, Prince.
Offer alternative.
We have to go on a break right now. We are due for a break. Please stay with us. When we return, the conversation continues.
Thank you.
Because he believes that we do not have a strong opposition in Nigeria, judging by the recent defections to the ruling party. So, according to Professor Patutomi, democracy is in danger in Nigeria and he can just fold his arms and watch. So, he has proposed, he has actually launched a shadow government known as the Big Tent Coalition Government to critique the governments of the day, the present administration, and proffer solutions, alternatives to the policies we are having right now. Because according to him, the present administration is just running on propaganda and repression of opposition. And we've been talking to Prince Ademola Oyedokun, a legal practitioner and political analyst. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you so very much. It's my pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Also joining us in the studio this morning is a public affairs analyst, Mr. Ladiji Alabi. Thank you, Mr. Alabi, for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
All right. We've been talking about, the recently launched shadow governments in Nigeria by Professor Patutomi. What's your take on it?
Thank you once again, Daniel. And I must say good morning to Prince, who is also on the line. I've been in the studio a couple of minutes ago, and I've listened to his analysis, and I must say that I agree with him, 100%, that the constitution of a shadow government, there is nothing illegal in it, and it is good that somebody who is a legal practitioner have said that. But that's also my standpoint. There is nothing illegal in it. Is it new to us? I would say no. In the First Republic, we had the Awolowo and Nauru, and, is it a new thing in democracy? No. As a matter of fact, in parliamentary system, the moment the ruling party is forming their own cabinet, the opposition is forming a shadow cabinet to tackle policies of government, policy by policy. Most of the time, when you look at the way we practice our democracy here, you sometimes want to question where we learn it from. Because if you get the opportunity to look at the sitting of the parliament in the United Kingdom, the prime minister is not somewhere seated in a relaxed mood, because he knows the shadow cabinet, the quote and unquote, the prime minister of the opposition is ready to tackle his policies. The foreign secretary is ready to answer questions from the secretary of foreign policy of the opposition. Likewise, the finance, they have policies to speak on, not the type of policy, politics we play here where we abuse each other. We only sing, we sing at the National Assembly, we sing during cabinet meeting, we practice a kind of what I call autocratic system. Do you get? So for me, it is not a crime for you to have a shadow cabinet. However, the motive behind it is what is important. Is it just another shadow cabinet to say we want to take over power? Don't forget also, APC before coming to power, they rode so much on something similar, even though they did not call their own shadow cabinet. But APC is very good with painting a sitting government, quote unquote, very bad. I've been in a conversation with someone who is, actually in the APC then, and he told me, he said our job, in fact, there was a video clip of El Rufai then when they were in the opposition who said that our job as the opposition is to paint the government of the day bad. That even if they are doing something good, we must show where they are doing bad things. But that is not the major essence of an opposition. The opposition goal is to provide an alternative. The foreign policy of the ruling party says this. Okay, the ruling party is saying we are not aligning. And you as the opposition feels, as a nation, we cannot stand on our own. Why don't we align? Or the ruling party is saying we are aligning towards the communist state. Maybe because of the ideology of the president. And you as an opposition is providing a solution. Oh no, why don't we embrace the one Africanness? Why don't we do this? You prefer reasonable alternative. And at this junction of our life as Nigerians, I think that is what we should be looking at. And I like the fact that the barrister also asked the question, where is the paperwork? Where is the document we are working with? No, but I don't want to agree that APC as a party, even though, we've seen something similar to maybe something like a manifesto, but are those things really manifestos in the right sense of it? So I think the shadow government that we are talking about now, they need to prefer positive alternatives for Nigerians. Bring in ideas. Being in the opposition is not always about, let's bring the government down. And also the ruling party must also be magnanimous. There is no crime in you borrowing an idea from, because you don't know it all. It's not
Absolutely.
possible. You guys are humans. You are not angels. You don't know it all. So there is no crime in you saying, okay, these people are saying this thing. Why don't we judge together? But most of the time, what we have in the ruling party, don't forget, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, the president of the African Development Bank, came out 2 days ago and about a few days back, and he said, "See, Nigeria economy is so and so and so."
And they accused him of sounding like Peter Obi.
Now, so when you say statements like this, it shows you lack substance. If he's saying this, you come out with your fact. You come out with verifiable data. But I'm not surprised because even prior to the presidential election, a particular candidate said, "Shana, data will go chop." But as a nation, we need those data to guide us. So if Akinwumi Adesina has made some statement that you're not comfortable with, what you do as a government is come out with your fact. See, you said this is actually the true picture of things. You said so and so, these are actually the true pictures. And the opposition also, you should not engage in name calling. Engage in policy for policy. Analyze, give people alternative. Maybe people might look your way.
All right. Just before I go back to Prince Ademola Oyedokun, Mr. Alabi, looking at the shadow government being formed now, one of the reasons that the Minister of Information and National Orientation gave when he kicked against it is that we have a National Assembly, that we have opposition in the National Assembly. The question is, as a Nigerian, as a public affairs analyst, do you really see an opposition in the National Assembly of Nigeria today?
Well, the Federal Minister of Information is doing his job. If you are working, you defend your pot of soup. That's where he's currently earning. I'm not expecting any essay to the president or anybody working for him come out to say this is a good development. It is only Nigerians who feel the pain so much that have come out to say, okay, we support this or we are not supporting it. And you spoke about the National Assembly. For me, do we really have a National Assembly who, like I've always maintained that it is not that you are in the National Assembly because you want to show that you are not a puppet of the executive, you fight them. No. But you check things. But events after events have shown that this current National Assembly, both the ruling party and the opposition, I don't think they have a direction. I don't think they are there because of Nigerians. And this is my personal opinion. I don't think that, because if you look at issues after issues that they have handled, in fact, even when you have a voice that seems to go another way from what the National Assembly, what you get most time is suspension. or either you are given, a kind of treatment that is not good for you. So I feel in the interest of Nigeria, the National Assembly should do the needful. But currently, what do we have? Even is it the opposition that busy jumping?
Most of them are defecting.
They are defecting now. Currently, APC has over 190 something as House of Rep members. Is it because they are so good? No. But because many of these guys in the National Assembly, they are not there because of the people. Quote and unquote, this representational democracy we say we are practicing. Are they truly representing the people? Many of them have constituency offices which they don't visit in 2, 3, 4, 5 months. And even if they come there, what do they come to share? Grinding machines, whatever things that are very, very ridiculous. So we need to set our foot on the right path as a democracy and get serious for once.
All right. Coming back to you, Prince Ademola Oyedokun, do you really believe that we have viable opposition in the National Assembly? That's number one. And number two, if you were privileged to be part of the shadow government, or if you were to give your sincere advice to the shadow government that has been formed by Professor Patutomi, what exactly would you be saying to them? Or if you were privileged to be right there with them, what exactly would you be doing to make sure that we have a successful, a credible shadow government in Nigeria?
On the first leg of your question as to whether we have a credible opposition in the National Assembly, over the years, I've come to realize that once you are elected to either chamber of our National Assembly, either the upper or lower chamber, once you get there and you are inaugurated, all of you, irrespective of your political party or affiliation, you form a fraternity. You became one house. So you are preoccupied with one thing first. How am I going to get this appointment into committees? That is for yourself. Maybe by extension, your constituency may benefit later. But your first concern, your personal advantage and opportunities. And then, how else will I answer this question? When a president enters the National Assembly, maybe joint sitting of the National Assembly, and every member of both Senate and Rep sing from time to time, on your mandate we shall stand. On your mandate we shall stand. So, what an opposition that is. So, I'm not saying there must always be confrontation between the executive and the legislature. No. But there should be the legislature should be critical of everything the executive presents to it. And they must objectively, in the interest of the people, analyze, criticize, disagree, to agree on something. But I must say, what we presently have is what is common, what we call in the common parlance as rubber stamp. They will never say no to any offer from the executive. And I will say, maybe that is the wizardry on the part of the presidency. Don't know. But to me, there's no serious opposition in our legislative chamber.
All right, very quickly.
Even if we have, they have formed the smallest minority we have ever experienced. It's our return to democracy from the military rule. So their voice is very, very low.
All right. So what would you be saying?
Your second leg of the question.
Absolutely.
If I'm acting, if I'm part of this, what advice will I give them? The first advice I will give Professor Pat, who told me the convener, whom I so much respect, is to constitute the parallel government. I refuse to use the word shadow. To constitute it with people of proven integrity, whose credential, in respect of whichever assignment is given to them, people will be able to scrutinize. To me, you want to make somebody who will just make a blanket unprofessional allegations against individuals or against our institutions, and then riding on internet minions, emotional blackmail to justify wrong things. This is my personal opinion. I wonder if such a person will be able to creditably perform such functions as has been assigned to him. Talking about the ombudsman, brother Delivery. We have to be objective in things we do. When you accuse somebody of corruption, a person of Tifafe Babalola's status, and you have no proof just because you lost a case, and you wrote a book, and the whole world is telling you the man is choosing to defend himself, and you are, what you do is to write on social media blackmail. Social media, how will I put what we call this type of justice? More jungle justice, and you will not allow the oppressed to talk, and then you form 50. Such a person, to me, does not have integrity. So, if you want to form a parallel government, you must do it with people with unblemished integrity. Even if somebody is unblemished, has integrity, but once there has been in the past a challenge to that integrity, then you drop that person.
Oh, all right. All right,
so
Prince.
If I'm there, what I will be doing is to be offering objective opinion on government policies. If the policies of government of the day is good for the people, in my opinion, even as an opposition, I will eulogize it. And if the policy of government is questionable, in my opinion, I will freely express it, point it out to the government for them to make correction if they choose to accept, and possibly even offer them alternatives. That should be the purpose.
All right. All right, Prince Ademola Oyedokun. Thank you for your contribution there. And very quickly, there is something else I would like us to look at away from the shadow governments of a thing. Since we just talked about the National Assembly, recently something happened regarding the ruling, a court ruling concerning electoral fraud, which has to do with the case of Senator Godswill Akpabio and the electoral officer, the returning officer in his election in 2019. Even though he did not complete that tenure because he was appointed Minister of Niger Delta, but a lot of Nigerians have been asking questions as to why he should remain in office. I mean, there's been arguments, I mean, even from legal professionals giving it different interpretations, that if someone is in office and someone has been convicted, okay, an electoral officer has been convicted of manipulating and falsifying results that brought him into the 9th Assembly. That's on moral grounds. Why should the Senate president why should he still be holding that position? And a group of people have actually called for his resignation. About 56 prominent civil society organizations, CSOs, including Amnesty International, Nigeria and Amnesty International Nigeria and Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, have called for the immediate resignation of Senate President Godswill Akpabio following the Court of Appeals affirmation.
In law, just like Kayode Eleja SAN said, the incident that has happened does not invalidate the election of Godswill Akpabio. In law, it's only an election petition tribunal where his election could be invalidated. So it's a moral question. So if I am to talk as a lawyer, his election is valid because there's what we call presumption of regularity. So if anybody wants to remove him on this basis now, the person will apply to court and get another if that is possible. But you well know electoral cases has time limit within which it will be completed within 180 days after the date of election, the result is filed. So any other case after it is not acceptable to any court. But on this one now, as I'm talking and I'm thinking aloud, if something has been done, if judgment has been, if an act has been done by fraud, the position of the law, appellate court, Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, is that the law relating to statute of limitation does not apply to cases where fraud is detected. Until and unless anybody goes to court on this issue, on the ground of fraud, Akpabio will remain in power, will remain in office.
So Prince Oyedekunle,
morally speaking, the civil societies will be right.
All right, Prince. So you are saying, morally speaking, the civil society organizations are right to call for his resignation. But I'm asking you this. So you're saying basically, categorically, that legally, that Godswill Akpabio will still remain in office, that even the fact that the electoral officer, the returning officer in that election that brought him into power was found guilty and convicted of that crime. So you are saying it doesn't really affect
individual criminal liability.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Prince Oyedekunle. Coming to you, Mr. Alabi. What's your take on this whole issue? Now, he has spoken, Prince Oyedekunle has spoken as a legal practitioner. I want you to talk as a public affairs analyst that you are. What's your opinion on this case? I mean, the election that brought Godswill Akpabio has been found to be manipulated. The results were found to be manipulated by the returning officer, who has actually been convicted and sentenced to 3 years in jail. He was actually sentenced as far back as 2021, and he appealed. He made an appeal, and of course, they still upheld the fact that he is guilty of that crime, and he's been sentenced, so he should serve that sentence. So as a public affairs analyst, what do you say to this? Some CSOs, civil society organizations, are now calling on Akpabio to resign. The legal practitioner has spoken. He said, as far as law is concerned, unless they bring a fresh suit against him, that his office is still, his office still holds. Nothing can bring him out of that office.
Excuse me, sir. Before Mr. Alabi speaks. Sorry, sir.
Oh, okay, please go ahead. Please go ahead, Prince.
Thank you. Don't forget, the election in question was conducted in 2019.
Absolutely.
And the tenure of the benefit he got from that election has elapsed. He is currently in the Senate on the strength of his election in 2023 general election.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the issue does not affect his current mandate.
All right.
It's just a question of moral burden.
Oh, all right. All right, Prince.
It's an expired terms. He didn't even enjoy it because he actually abandoned the position.
Yes, he was appointed Minister of Niger Delta. Yes.
Yes. So he's enjoying a new election as we speak.
All right. Thank you for reiterating that. I'm coming back to you, Mr. Alabi. What's your take on the whole situation?
Well, in this part of the world, like I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the issue of shadow government, I've always asked myself what the type of democracy we think we run. Because in most cases, it's only here in Nigeria, quote and unquote, that I see that even when we allege somebody who has left office has done something, we just feel they have gone, let them go. There's nothing again. It's done. In Brazil, an ex-president has been sentenced before. Don't forget, also in South Africa, a particular president was being charged when he was out of the office but here, we always love for events to override things, then we let it go. Yes, the lawyer is correct when he mentioned that the election in question was in 2019. But for my understanding, the person, so let's look at it now. He has spoken about the legal perspective. Let's look at, morals, and let's look at, our system. Now, if we are talking about the process that brought in someone, My own issue or my own perception about Akpabio in the first instance is that he should not even be a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, not to talk of becoming the Senate president. Yes, because before he became the Senate president, don't forget he had issues with EFCC. And I was watching a video, satire video, you know, talking about Nigeria, and you know, the person said Nigeria has the highest number of political actors, people who act movies in politics. Don't forget, every time they have issues with EFCC, they must have one illness that must take them outside the country. This same Akpabio had an illness that was, you know, he should leave Nigeria and treat himself. But the moment he became the Senate president, what God cannot do does not exist. The illness vanished into the thin air. So my own issue is Akpabio should not even be sitting as a senator in Nigeria. Not to talk of becoming the Senate president. There has always been one issue or the other on his neck. And he has a lot of questions to answer in terms of even his person as an individual, not to talk of, you've seen video of himself and Senator Seriake Dixon in the Senate, that the man is saying, see, I will respect you as a Senate president, but you also need to respect me as a senator. You see the issue he had with Natasha, you see issues he had with Aline Dume, you see a lot of issues, even when he was the minister, the NDDC case, even as a governor. But I know this is common with a lot of politicians in Nigeria. But we need to set our standard right. And you know, Nigerians are very funny, and Barrister will agree with me on this. Many of them now, they go to law school. They go to get a degree in law, go to law school.
The way they do crash program, you don't believe it.
And they will never interpret the law rightly. That's why any politician, if you see, if they call anybody, he's a barrister, I say it's a lie. It's a lie. They are the people spoiling the profession. They will never interpret. Take two politicians who claim they went to study law after they become I'm not talking about lawyers who are practicing lawyers before they join politics. But politicians who said, okay, I don't want to mention this, your brother from Kogi State, who just became a lawyer. He cannot interpret the law the right way. He will interpret it to suit himself. And you will see them do funny things. And when you now ask your question, what foundation are we laying for the upcoming generation? They will tell you in as much somebody has done it. Somebody did it, so why can't I do it?
Because
so
of our
these
time.
Are some of the things we need to look into. If Akpabio were to be now, there is no. If you have, it happened during former Senate President Steno, what's his name, Bukola Saraki. I think the 8th Senate. He had an issue to answer,
and he had to recuse himself.
He recused himself. His deputy stood in place for him, and when he was, cleared, he came back as the Senate President. There is no crime in you being tried. It is only in Nigeria that our political officers feels they don't have anybody to answer to. You answer to people. I mentioned to you the governor of California when the fire outbreak happened in California last year or thereabout. And a citizen said, Mr. Governor, I want to speak with you. He waited. He spoke with the woman. The woman was crying. He was busy begging her, see, I'm working with the federal government to curtail this. In Nigeria, you cannot even move close to your local government chairman. You cannot. Because also with the humongous amount of money that gets to their covers now, they have a lot of people around them. And they feel like demigods.
Absolutely. Quite unfortunate. So in your own opinion, Mr. Alabi, just before I go back to Prince Moedekun, who is still on the line, people are calling for his resignation. Insane clients. Was according to the civil society organizations, insane clients. He should. So why can't he resign as a Nigerian Senate president? Why shouldn't he resign?
Because it is Nigeria. Anything happens. Anything can. I've checked in recent time. Check how many people. If not for this man that was appointed an SA in Ilorin, in Kwara State, who said he's only taking salaries and he's not doing anything. And the man Tinubu appointed, President Tinubu appointed as an SA, this Baba Ahmed man, I can't remember the particular office he gave him, and he said he's not functioning. It is not common with our politicians to resign. Even if they cannot do this thing, they would rather die in office because of the benefits there.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lade Jalabi. And coming back to you, Prince Ademola Oyedokun, just what's your parting shot? We are pressed for time right now. We're short on time. We really have to go. But what's your parting shot concerning this case?
Well, my brother, Mr. Alabi, has said it. Nigeria should come to realization with our unique yet embarrassing political culture. They don't resign in Nigeria. And we need to start the process of change. And the change begins with every one of us. We should have integrity. We should maintain integrity. And with that, that's the only way we can have better Nigeria. If we are about 50-something civil societies, let them be 1,000 civil societies. A Nigerian politician, just like Akpabio, will not resign. They see everything as if they are acting comedy. They are the ones who have the handles of the sword. It's difficult to the multitude of people to struggle with them. So the sovereignty of Nigeria resides with the people, but the people are toothless bulldogs. We can only back just the ways of these civil societies. We cannot bite. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you once again, Prince Ademola Oyedokun, lawyer and political analyst. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And of course, thank you to you, Mr. Lade Jalabi, for joining us on the program this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here again.
Thank you so much. And to all our esteemed viewers, thank you so much for staying with us on the program this morning. Morning Spring on Western Spring Television comes to you every day from Mondays to Friday. And we always have powerful conversations like this. I mean, discussing matters that shape our nation. Don't forget, you can check out this conversation on our YouTube channel and other social media channels on Western Spring Television. Emeka Daniel is my name. Well, if democracy is not working in Nigeria, perhaps we should try cryptocracy. Or what do you think? Either way, join us again tomorrow for a fresh edition of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television.